Darryl Buxton. I've been writing about horror for over 30 years for various magazines and websites. I was here last year, you may remember, to interview Kane Hodder and Ian McCulloch, and it's my great pleasure to introduce the first guest of this weekend. Will you put your hands together, please, for the great Mr. Sid Haig.
What are you doing here? Can I just start off with something?
Please, yeah.
Okay. I just want everybody to know that the reason that I'm sitting here is because you're sitting there. Without you, I've got nothing.
Sid, take a seat. Well, how does this compare to events in the US?
This is amazing, absolutely amazing. Wonderful people, everybody's having a good time. Everybody's having a good time, right? Yeah. Good. Oh, you're sitting over in the dark. Oh my God, I can't see everybody. Okay.
Okay, now during our sessions today and tomorrow, we'll be back again this time tomorrow, I'd like to cover as much of your career as we can fit in. We're going to talk in detail about some of the great movies you've done, but I'd like to touch first of all on the fact that in movie history there have been great partnerships: Scorsese with De Niro, John Ford with John Wayne, Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. Now, you're one of the few actors who's actually done that twice, with Jack Hill and with Rob Zombie. So what is it about these sort of director-actor partnerships, and what's your experience?
I love working with those two guys, as well as Quentin Tarantino, because they do it right, okay? They make their vision very clear to you as an actor, and then they just get the hell out of the way and let you do your job, which is, it's the way it should work, right? If they thought enough of you to hire you, then they should just let you do what you do. And that's why, that's my appreciation for them, for allowing me to be myself. I'm not Captain Spaulding.
Okay, well, let's stick with Jack Hill and take you back to one of your earliest horror roles as part of the Merry family in Jack's weird and magnificent Spider Baby back in the mid-60s. And we had a cast of cult stars from Lon Chaney Jr. and Manton Moreland to Jill Banner, Beverly Washburn, Carol Omart. Tell us about working on that marvellous film and the challenges of playing a mute, almost baby-like character.
Yeah, that was an amazing film to work on. First of all, we didn't think that, you know, it was going to be anything. I mean, we were just making this little film. It was a minuscule budget. I think it was like $35,000 or $40,000 we did that on. And Lon Chaney Jr. was so amazed that people remembered him and wanted him to be in a film that, you know, he had a bit of a drinking problem, let's say. But he was so appreciative that he made a point to have them put in the contract that he could not have a drink while he was doing that film. That's how much he wanted to do that film. And everybody in that cast was amazing to work with. Carol Omart in her 50s was pretty sexy looking, I would say. And Jill and Beverly were great to work with, and Manton Moreland, oh my God, I grew up watching him. I grew up watching Lon Chaney Jr., and then all of a sudden there I am on the set working with him. It was, I couldn't even speak to him for the first 2 days, you know. It was just, because being in his presence was amazing.
So what about your own character in the movie, Sid?
There was, okay, I work organically, okay, which means that, first of all, within every person is every personality type. And I have to just go inside and find that person and bring them out. In the case of Captain Spaulding, at the end of the day, I had to put them back, or else bad things could happen. Okay, but there was no reference for Ralph, you know. So what I did was I went to the zoo, and I hung out at the primate area and watched the apes and gorillas and whatnot interact with one another. And then I went to a playground. Those were in the days before you were considered a pedophile if you went to a playground. And I watched the kids play, because that's basically what he was. You know, he was part animal, part little kid. And so that's how I developed the character.
Okay. Now you mentioned there the sort of surprise that you thought of Spider Baby as just being a little film, and it's grown and grown and grown over the years. And I suppose the same thing has happened with the great string of blaxploitation movies that you appeared in the 70s. Tell us a bit about those and your relationship with again with Jack on a lot of that work, and with Pam Grier.
Yeah. First of all, I was supposed to do a film in Italy, a spaghetti western, okay? When Clint Eastwood decided that he was through with doing spaghetti westerns, he said, that's it, I've had it. So they were gonna move Lee Van Cleef into his role and move me into Lee Van Cleef's role, okay? Well, the Italian director just got nervous not being able to reach out and touch the actor that he was going to be working with, because Lee was already living over there. And so I got fired. And the very next day, Jack Hill called and said, I'm doing a picture in the Philippines. Want to go? Yep. Sign me up, he said. And I found this girl, the amazing girl. She's absolutely gorgeous, fun to be with, very intelligent, charismatic. And I go, yeah, okay, I've heard it all, okay? I'm been in Hollywood for a couple of days, okay? I've seen it. Let's just do this, okay? So I got to the Philippines, and then I met Pam Grier. Amazing. She was absolutely gorgeous. One of the few women that I knew that actually had a breast reduction, okay? Because it was giving her back problems. We met one another, and the very first scene that we did was, anybody here ever see The Big Dollhouse? Anybody? Because otherwise I'm just talking to talk. But okay.
I've seen it.
Okay, so you'll know.
To me.
One of the very first scenes that we shot was a scene where she tries to convince me to stage a jailbreak so that they can get all these women out of prison. And to entice me to do that, she reaches through the bars, grabs my hand, and shoves it up her crotch. Okay? Hi, my name's Sid, my name's Pam. And then we broke for lunch. And that lunchroom was the most sexually charged place I've ever been in my life. Nobody spoke all the way through lunch. They just quietly sat there and ate, and then got up and left, okay? And then the next scene that we shot after that was the one that I put my hands up her dress and started playing with her breasts. The problem was that she lied about her age to get the job. She said she was 18, she was actually 17, okay? I said, Pam, how are you doing? Don't you know that 17 will get you 20? Okay? I was going to spend 20 years in jail for playing around with her breasts. However, it was kind of nice. But she and I became really good friends, and not in that way, but just really good friends. We always had one another's back. It was just an amazing experience, and so that was basically kind of the start of the blaxploitation era, and we did, Pam and I did 6 pictures together. Yeah.
Okay, and mention of Pam, of course, brings us on to your later work with Quentin Tarantino, as you've already mentioned. When did you first meet Quentin, and how is he to work for?
I first met Quentin when he was casting Pulp Fiction, and he called me in for an interview, and I went in and I did the audition. I just loved the part. It was the part of Marcellus, okay, Wallace, and he said, you know, I've always loved your work, and I said, well, thanks. It's good to know that, you know, people like what you do. He goes, no, look around. And I looked around in the office, and there were 6 posters of films that were his favorites, and I was in every one of them. And he made me sign one of the posters before I left the office. I wanted to do the film badly. He wanted me to do the film badly. And just before that, I had a talk with my agents telling them that I just did not want to do any more television work, because it's just a grind. You just keep pumping out scenes. There's no art to it at all. It's just keeping people interested to get them to the next commercial, you know. And Marcellus was involved in scenes that were in 4 different locations. When the deal came down, it was for a day's work. And I said, didn't we just have a talk about this? How are we going to do 4 locations in one day if it doesn't just turn out to be grinding film out, you know? Nobody bothered to tell me that Quentin didn't work that way. If the one-day job turned into 2 weeks, oh well, okay? So I turned it down. Stupid me. I could have got things going a little quicker, but he remembered me, and he brought me in to do Kill Bill, and Kill Bill was not Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 when it started. It was just Kill Bill.
One movie.
Yeah. But he had never worked on location before, and every time he'd go to an exotic location to shoot something, he fell in love with the place, and so he'd start writing more scenes. And so it got so big that it had to, you know, wind up being in 2 volumes.
Okay, now, if Quentin revived your career or brought you out of TV hell, you've said in interviews before that you regard Rob Zombie as the guy who really, really, really did save your career or really revived it. When did you become aware of Rob and his interest in you?
This is really wild, okay? In 1992, I just stepped away from the business. Nobody ever quits acting, okay? It's like the mafia. You can't quit, okay? But I said, you know, if people don't understand that I can do more than just point a gun in somebody's face, I'm just going to back up until somebody gets a couple of synapses working and figures out that I can do more than that. And so I got a call from my agent, and he said, okay, here's the deal. And I went, oh God, what? He said, you go to this office and sign a letter of non-disclosure, take the script home and read it, and if you like it, the part is yours. I had never even met Rob, okay? And so I took the script home like a good boy, like I was supposed to do, and I read it, and I thought, oh my God, I could have so much fun with this. So I called the next morning and I said, let's do it. And the first time I met Rob was when we were getting our wardrobe fittings, okay? Now we cut forward to like 3 years later at his wedding reception, and I was standing there talking to his brother, and he said, this is so weird. I said, what, the wedding? He goes, no, standing here talking to you. I said, what are you talking about? He said, when Rob and he were like 8 and 9 years old, they used to wake up every Saturday morning and watch Jason of Star Command. And I kept popping up in films that Rob was watching here and there, and he said, you know, if I ever get to direct a film, I want that guy in it. And that's how I got there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, we're back here tomorrow, and I'll be asking you more about Jason of Star Command then, so we can talk in more depth about that. We're going to open this up to the audience in just a moment. Before we do, I'd just like to ask about your screen time in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, because it strikes me that Captain Spaulding has made such a big impact on the horror world the face and the image is all over the posters and everywhere. I'm sure people have been bringing Spalding photos and so on for you to sign this morning. But in terms of screen time, you don't actually get all that much. I wonder if any more was filmed, or if it was a case of you and Rob just deciding less is more.
Well, in House of a Thousand Corpses, I was only in 4 scenes. Okay, that was per the script, but I had so much fun playing with Rob, okay, and pushing him, because one of the first scenes that we shot was the scene where the guys come into my gas station to rob the store, and the guy says, "Stick him up," and I went like this, right? That wasn't in the script, okay? And Rob started laughing during the scene, and I cut. Rob, come on, hold it together. We're trying to make a picture here, okay? So we had to do it all over again. But that was the key. If I could make him actually blow a take, I knew I was in the right direction. So he just kind of let me go. And if anybody's seen the DVD, the menu, okay, that was my section of that menu was about a little over 5 minutes long, and I got the script for that after midnight, the night before we were supposed to start shooting it. Okay. And I went in the next morning and I said, "Rob, are you crazy? I just got this after midnight last night. You know, can't memorize all this in just a couple of hours." And he goes, "Well, do you have the high points? You know where it has to go?" I said, "Yeah." So he handed me a jelly donut and a pornographic magazine and said, "Go." And so I just goofed and just went off crazy. I don't know, because I am crazy.
Okay, apparently we've got a roving mic, so if anyone in the audience has got a question for Sid, the microphone is doing the round, so if you can let us know, anyone who's got a burning question for Mr. Haig. There's one in the front just there, yeah.
Hi, Sid.
Hi.
How you doing? I just, I've recently read that you, I don't know if you still are, but you were a musician at one point?
Musician?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You played all the music.
I started a rock and roll band when I was a senior in high school. And 1 year after we graduated from high school, we got signed to a record contract with Keane Records, who was the record company that was the company that Sam Cooke recorded for. Yeah, so it was good.
I'm so sorry, do you mind if it's a two-parter?
What was that?
Do you mind if it's a two-parter question?
Okay.
Quick one.
What do you think about the song Free Bird before and after the film?
Well, see, okay. That song was meant for that film.
Yeah.
Okay. It was originally supposed to be Black Betty, all right? And Rob said, "No, I want to change it to Free Bird." And the producer said, "Are you kidding? That's 7 minutes long. Okay, what are you going to do for 7 minutes?" He said, "That's up to me to decide what to do." Okay. And so that's what we did. And I heard from several different people that there were some people in the audiences that actually cried at the end of that film because of the combination of what was going on and the lyrics in Free Bird. And nobody listens to that song the same way again anymore.
Thank you.
Okay, any more? One at the back there. Yeah.
So Rob Zombie comes up to you and he says, "I've got an idea for a new film. We're going to start James Cutter from the beginning."
What was that? Sorry.
Rob Zombie comes to you and says, "Got an idea for a new film. We're going to do James Cutter from the very beginning. There's no budget. Are you still playing the part?"
I didn't get that.
He's talking about doing a new film with Rob Zombie from going back to the start of the character, and but with no money, and no resources, would you be prepared to do it and work with Rob again?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We always have fun together. That's the thing. When you can have fun doing a film like that, you know, the companion disc to Devil's Rejects is called 30 Days in Hell. And the reason it's called 30 Days in Hell was because it took us 30 days to make the film, and at no point in time was it ever lower than 110 degrees out. Okay, so that's, you know, when you can have fun in that kind of environment, and it just makes you want to keep doing it. So I always have fun working with him, had fun in Halloween. As a matter of fact, if you notice, if you look at all of the publicity for Halloween that he did, I'm not in any of the photos. That's because the film had already been shot, and they were having some screenings around the country, and the survey cards were coming back amazing. And he asked the producers for some more money because he had an idea to shoot something else. And he called me and said, what are you doing Saturday? And I said, nothing. He goes, well, you are now, because I just wrote a part for you in Halloween. So that just got stuck in after the film was already done. So that's the kind of relationship that we have and the kind of fun that we have working together.
Okay, so if it's Rob saying let's you know, explore that House of Thousand Corpses universe again, if it's another Halloween movie, if it's anything, you're there.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Same with El Super Bisto, his animated film.
Sure.
He called and said, you want to do you know, the voice? And I said, well, who else is going to do Captain Spaulding? Okay, I'll kick his ass.
And that's
I'm sorry if I'm not paying attention to over here, but somebody paid off the lighting director and all the light is over here. And
the advice definitely is, if you want to ask a question, sit this side. We can see you. Okay, any more? Let's see if we can get a hand from this side. Can we see? Oh, okay, yeah. One here, yeah.
I said, I was wondering, what was it like throwing Lana Wood out of the window in Diamonds Are Forever?
In Diamonds Are Forever. Sorry, I didn't catch all the questions.
What was it like throwing Lana Wood out of the window?
You got it.
How do you think it would be taking a topless woman, throwing her out the window? That's like throwing some really good stuff away, you know? And that's another one of those deals where, hi, I'm Lana, hi, I'm Sid, okay, let me grab your breasts and throw you out the window. These just get attracted to breasts somehow, I don't know. That was amazing. She was a lot of fun. We're still friends. Everything's good.
What was it like working with Sean Connery?
Sean Connery was the greatest guy. He was a big joker, okay? It was always so much fun to work with. He hated the wig, okay? And as soon as they would holler, you know, wrap for the day, he'd just tear it off and throw it in the air. And if there happened to be a hairdresser under it, okay, but if not, so what? I don't care. And he was just great to work with. A lot of fun.
Okay, any more questions? One just behind there, yeah.
Hi, Sid. Really fast. In the 60s, you made a film Bloodbath with Roger Corman.
Yeah, Bloodbath, Track of the Vampire.
Yeah.
Track of the Vampire. Why were there so many versions of that film? Because there's 4, I think.
Okay. Roger had a routine that he used to do. Every year he would tour Europe and go to all the different film labs and find films where the producers hadn't paid their bills, okay? And he would buy up these films that were just partially shot. And one year he went and he saw this film that had some great exterior shots, castles and beautiful countrysides and this, that, and the other thing. So he bought it up and he brought it back and he gave it to Jack Hill and he said, write a film around this, okay? So so that's the first version of the film, okay? Then Jack wrote his version of what that was all going to be like. And then Stephanie Rothman said to Roger Corman, you know, I've got an idea that could work in this film. And so she shot her portion of the film. And when the review came out, it actually said that this film looks like it was shot by 3 different people, okay? Which it was. But that's the way Roger worked, you know.
Yeah,
The most amazing man in show business, I'll tell you. He's made over 200 films. He's never lost a dime on a movie. I did a film for him called Wizards of the Lost Kingdom Part 2. There was no Part 1. His idea was that if Part 2 went well at the box office, we could make Part 1 cheaper and release it by popular demand.
a genius, and he's still working too.
Yes, he is still working.
Okay, we've probably got time for just one more question from the audience before we wrap. So, any more hands? One there, the guy in the cap there, yeah.
Hi, are there any of the directors of all your time working that you wish you could have worked with? You said you've worked with Quentin Tarantino, Rob Zombie. Is there anyone in particular that you'd have liked to work with that you haven't had the chance to?
Well, I haven't had the chance to yet. Okay, I'd like to work with Scorsese. Okay, because he also is a Corman College graduate. Okay, and for some reason, I've never worked with Francis Ford Coppola. Okay, and I'd like to work with him again.
You could play Francis.
I could. Yeah. But he's busy making wine and spaghetti, so.
If they ever do the making of The Godfather, you're a shoo-in as the director.
Yeah. Now here's an interesting side point for you. Apocalypse Now. Remember that film? Okay. The end of that film is actually the story plot for Jack Hill's student film at UCLA. Francis didn't know how to end the film, so he took what Jack's student film was and made that the end of the film.
And again, that's that Corman school coming in. Jack, Francis, all these guys had worked with Corman. Francis would have known it from there, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap there. If any of you that are sticking around tomorrow, we'll be back with Sid for another half hour. We'll be touching on some of the same stuff we've talked about today, more on Captain Spaulding. We'll be looking at Galaxy of Terror, Bone Tomahawk, Jason of Star Command. If you've got any other questions for Sid, he'll be around for the rest of the day, so you can join his autograph queue and speak to him there. But for now, will you put your hands together for the great Mr. Sid Haig?
And once again, don't forget it. Without you, I've got nothing.
Questions?